everyone. Welcome to Listeners Beware, a podcast about all things Goosebumps. My name is Gary.
And I'm Ashley.
And today we are talking about book number 15.
You can't scare me.
Is that a challenge?
It is.
This book is full of challenges and is challenging. And
It is challenging. This is the 15th book released in January of 1994. So here we are rounding the corner into the epic year of 1994.
my favorite year of all time.
Oh, is
It
it?
really is, yeah. Yeah, it was arguably the most informative year of my life. So it kind of made me who I am today. And a lot of my favorite TV shows started
Oh,
then. And also Wingstop
interesting.
opened, but that's not that important.
Okay, so we've got You Can't Scare Me, book number 15. Now, Gary, can you tell us what book number 15 is about?
It's gonna be a scream. Courtney is a total show off. She thinks she's so brave and she's always making Eddie and his friends look like wimps. But now Eddie's decided he's had enough. He's going to scare Courtney once and for all. And he's come up with the perfect plan. He's going to lure Courtney down to Muddy Creek because Eddie knows Courtney believes in that silly rumor about the monsters, mud monsters that live in the creek. Too bad Eddie doesn't believe the rumor because it just might be true.
Well, here we go.
Here we go.
So, nice thing with this one is we have, the little Scooby gang, for lack of a better word,
Yep.
that we're introduced to. We've got Eddie, his friend Hat, and then the two sidekicks, Molly and Charlene. I love that we have a mixed group going on here. And, our protagonist, the main character, is Eddie, but we have his friends, the little gang, tagging along.
Yeah, I feel like we get a lot more time with Eddie and Hat than with the other two, which is a bit of a shame, but they all do serve a purpose.
Yeah, I like that they balance out one another because you have Eddie, who's kind of, he's a scaredy cat. I mean, not overtly like some of the other books that we've read, but he does get scared easily. Hat is a little bit more of a jokester, and they have like this playful relationship. Molly and Charlene, though, they seem to be a little bit more like the voices of reason in the group.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we've got Courtney.
Courtney, Little Miss Perfect.
Courtney. Little Miss Perfect, Courtney. And they all, the book opens with them all going on a field trip to Green Forest, and they're supposed to be filling out a form or a worksheet of like plant life and animals that they see. And, Courtney is very studious, and she and her friend, is it Deborah? They're off doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're doing the assignment.
Right. And this just pisses off Eddie and his friends. The fact that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, I guess. They're so studious and perfect.
Yeah, it's Courtney and Denise.
Denise.
Is one of the Denise.
Yes.
Here's my problem.
Getting into it early.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not so much in the writing. Story written well, scenes are set up well. Here's my problem just with the characters' behaviors is that I was probably more of like a Courtney and Denise. I wasn't a know-it-all, but I actually did what I was supposed to. And even like professionally as an adult, I go in and do what I'm supposed to. Then there are the haters who want to slack off, and then they kind of pick on the person who is just doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think they said something similar to this, and it's so funny in my adult life how many times at work that I've been told this. Why are you making us look bad? And it's just like, no, man, you're making you look bad. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yep. This one's on you, pal.
Yep. So I found it interesting because RL did create a world that does exist, and it doesn't exist just among children. It happens in adults too, where you have a group that kind of wants, to get by on the bare bones and take down the people that don't follow that. So
yeah, I had a hard time rooting for really any character in the book because even the know-it-alls not, I don't want to use that term, but Courtney and just Courtney really. she she's a little obnoxious, but like she's not a bad person. She's just doing the right thing, and she's villainized for it, which puts me in a weird headspace with this book in general.
Yeah, and she wasn't, like, super obnoxious or super know-it-all.
Mm-mm.
That's the hilarious part is that I feel like so that we didn't sympathize with the wrong person, RL had to put little quirks in there to make her just enough aggravating, like, that you didn't completely sympathize,
Yeah.
because it would have been really easy to sympathize with her,
Hmm.
because she's like, "Bro, I'm just doing my work. Oh, I'm just trying to help the teacher. Oh, I'm just trying to help this cat stuck in a tree." Like, she literally is doing nice things. So
Yeah.
I feel like they had to make her a little bit prickly just so that we didn't completely turn around and say, "Eddie, you's a dick. Off to the mirror world with you."
I still kept thinking though, Eddie, you's a dick. Uh,
I still thought he was a dick.
yeah, but I agree with you, and I think making her prickly is like the best way to describe it because she doesn't necessarily do anything wrong. It's just she's a little annoying for being so good at life.
And I wouldn't even say for me, I feel like he tried to make her do the wrong things,
Mm,
but in a way that wasn't so wrong that she is completely antagonized.
right. Yeah.
And I think that that is a delicate balance because for me, if you're writing a character that is doing the right thing and doing their work and helping, you don't want to completely villainize them because
Hmm.
it's like not every kid out there doing good things or being on, this path is a dipshit. So I do think he found just enough
Yeah.
of the balance, which kudos to RL, finding that balance where it's like, hey, she's still mostly a good kid. She's a little bit of a shit sometimes, though. I
Yeah.
mean, for example, when they're in the woods at the beginning and everybody comes out to see, she's got these two bees crawling on her, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. And she's trying to show people don't be afraid. But then what does she do? She's an asshole and she throws the bees at Eddie and Hat.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could like chuck bees at somebody.
I've never tried, but it's possible.
Yep. And that was kind of mean because the bees are stunned and they're falling, and she just got done talking about how they're gentle or whatever. And then she hauls off and throws them across the parking lot. And I'm like, well, that was mean.
Yeah.
Courtney, shame on you. Those poor bees, they trusted you.
That's the go-to point in my mind where I'm like, she's got a dark side.
She does. She's a bit of a mean side.
Hmm.
And the same with when she helps the cat out of the tree. I think she genuinely was just trying to help
Yeah.
the cat. But then afterwards, making like a little snippy comment at Eddie about him being afraid.
Right.
It's like, okay, and right. I would say up until that point, though, she just got done being pranked by them. And so I almost feel like she's a bit justified in poking back because she
Yeah.
knew it was them.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, you pranked me at school. You tried to humiliate me. You tried to do this. Well, ha ha. Look at you, you little scaredy cat. So I could almost relate to her behavior in that moment. But the beginning, when she threw the bees at them, I was like, Courtney, that was
That
mean.
was mean. I was prepared to dislike her at that point, but then as the book went on, I was like, oh, that was a one-off.
I was prepared to dislike her too.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because the good guys are the ones that you're supposed to be rooting for, but he writes them in such a way that like you understand why they're the way they are, but they're still really hard to root for. And like you said, that's a really skillful writing tool.
Yeah, because in this book, like reading the entire thing, and this is just me. I don't know, as a kid, they may have a different read on it because they're on either end of that spectrum of like, I'm a know it all. That crew is mean. Or, oh man, I don't like know it alls. Haha, I get her.
Yeah.
So, but as an adult rereading it, or actually, I will preface this, I don't recall ever having read this one. So
Me neither.
to me, it felt like a first time read. So
Yeah.
as an adult reading it for the first time, I was just like, I really don't like any of these characters. I
Mm-mm.
don't think any of them are nice.
No.
And maybe that's, again, kudos to RL. Not any one person is just a protagonist or just an antagonist. We're all kind of complicated layers. We all have asshole sides to us. And I think he showed that really well in this. Nobody is straightforward, just a good guy or just a bad guy or just a whatever. It was like, yeah, we all have our little prickly sides,
Yeah.
and maybe what who we assume is supposed to be the protagonist isn't actually so nice.
Damn, girl, you nailed it.
What?
Yeah. I mean,
Look
that's,
at
look
me
at you.
getting philosophical on the
You're
bumps.
right. But it was a bit of an interesting role reversal, right? Because normally the villains are the bullies, but the heroes are bullies in this one. So, I mean, we can't go a damn book without bullies, it seems. But that's probably by design, given the time frame they were written in.
Yeah, I like that though. I like that RL is constantly challenging that bullies are out there, and here are the different scenarios it presents itself, whether it be through peer pressure, physical bullying, social bullying, like whatever. There's a whole spectrum. It's not just one straightforward thing. But I also like that this is the first book he's introduced that even you, the good person, is capable of bullying and you don't realize it.
Mm-hmm. One thing I've always lived by is that no matter how nice of a person I am, I'm always the villain in someone's story. And that is fascinating to me. And I think this book kind of, is case in point to that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. This is, to me, as much as I wasn't completely into the book,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is probably the most well written book for challenging the reader, challenging assumptions, challenging stereotypes and tropes,
Yeah.
because no one's fitting into one box here, not one single character. And I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
5 bumps for RL. 5 gooses? 5 geese.
5 geese.
Why is it goosebumps and not geese bumps?
That's a good question. You're asking the hard hitting.
I came swinging today. Also, can we talk about his best friend is nicknamed Hat? And I get it because he's always wearing a hat, but who the hell actually goes by that nickname? Have you ever heard anybody that's Hat? What?
I have not. I don't think I want to either.
He had all these great names in this book: Eddie, Courtney, Molly, Charlene. And then you have Hat. This is Hat.
Hi.
What the heck?
This is my dear friend Hat.
I like lamp.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I wasn't feeling that.
It was a little weird, but what was his actual name? Herbie? I might go by Hat if my name were Herbie.
Herbie? Oh man, I actually don't remember Hat's name.
I think it was Herbie.
I mean, Herbie works a little better. I think it is Herbie. But okay, so Herbie, not the car.
Not the car.
And Eddie are coming up with all these plans. They steal a tarantula and drop it on their friends' heads on accident. And of course, Courtney's not freaked out. She's like, oh, hello, little tarantula. Let me get you back to class. Like, she really is not one to be scared. And for me, the second I saw a tarantula, I would have been freaking out. Arachnophobia, yeah, that exists here.
I would have saved you. I'm not scared of tarantulas. I don't want to touch them, but I'm not scared of them.
How you gonna save me if you won't touch it?
I'll touch it for you.
That sounds wrong. Oh man, I'm trying to keep it together. I'm trying not to laugh. So on this episode of Goosebumps, the X-rated version,
Goosebumps After Dark.
Ooh, I like that. So, yeah, we see them doing lots of things, and none of it works. And meanwhile, we've got a little side story going, which you know where it's leading. Foreshadowing. Yeah. Eddie's older brother Kevin is dressing up as a mud monster because we left out that there is a lore in their town that the nearby swamp has mud monsters that come out and eat people or kill them or whatever. Right. And the history behind that, I actually really like that RL came up with that. Like, you could have your own world about that. And it's actually kind of sad.
It is. It's weird to me that the backstory for the mud monsters is given so late in the book. It's, it's like if I didn't know the front cover of the book, I wouldn't even know that mud monsters were in it until like the 100th page, which is kind of an interesting choice.
I don't mind that because it gives time for the world to build. If you are introduced to that, we know automatically where it's going.
Right. Oh, that's true.
Like, we know automatically that's where they're leading to. I mean, you kind of already know when they hint with Kevin in the woods, the mud monsters, but it doesn't put it so much in your face that you're like, okay, just take us there. We know where this is all going. So I like that they kind of built up to the local legend, and it's fun and sad. Like the have-nots have to live by the swampy river creek thing, and then a storm happens and they all die. Like, oh my gosh, talk about some social commentary in just that small paragraph
Yeah.
that he wrote. And I'm like, dang, RL, that's way to slip that in there.
Yeah. Got me feeling my feelings.
Right? So you got these mud monsters in the lore mixed in there, and they decide they're going to get Courtney out there to scare her, because scaring with the dog that apparently goes rabid when he hears whistling. I have no idea what that. I feel like that was out of left field.
100%. And it's also animal abuse on Charlene's part.
Right? She's like, I know this sets my dog off. Let's do it. It's like, he obviously really, really doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that doesn't work. So they get her to go out. And I love the way that they get her out there is to basically call her a chicken. Because she's like, I'm not going to go there after dark. Why? You scared? Okay, never mind. You're just too scared. And she's like, I'll be there. I'm like, my girl, go show them.
You know, as I was reading this, it just seemed like, because we've sort of, there were 4 major pranks that happened in this book. And each one blew up in their face, and it started to feel like RL was like, what can I design that's going to be Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner? Because the only thing these kids didn't do was fall off a cliff or have a boulder fall on them, basically.
That we know
of.
It does backfire. And I like that each one of them backfires and that Courtney doesn't fall for any of them, because that only aggravates them more.
Yeah.
And then they find out that she actually believes in like monsters, like the Loch Ness monster and cryptid, or I should say not even monsters, cryptids. Like, our girl Courtney is a full-on cryptid believer. She's Courtney the cryptid.
Yes.
Like, she loves them. She loves Loch Ness Monster. She loves Bigfoot. She believes in them. And I'm just like, do you want to be a part of 3 Haunted? But that's how they realize this is how we're going to get her. She actually believes in those things. So we will trick her with the mud monsters. And he convinces his brother he and his friends who are filming about the mud monsters to dress up in their mud costumes and prank her.
And how does that go?
As we thought it would go. Like, she's up in her treehouse with Denise, and I just love that they see all these mud monsters come out, and he's so oblivious. Like, you think he would know what his brother and friends look like, or he just at least can count. Like, he knows how many were a part of the project, and he's just like, oh, there's my brother. As all of these mud monsters are coming up out of the ground and coming out. And still nothing's registering. Wow, they're really believable. And then his brother comes up behind him. Sorry, we're late. And then, chaos ensues. They're all screaming. They're all trying to help each other.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. They're all scared together and they all run. And then just to make sure Courtney's not too much of a protagonist, RL has to kind of slip in at the end that she brags about seeing real monsters. Like, see, I told you monsters were real.
Yeah, it is fun. And sort of a lackluster twist ending as his books go, but it is what it is. The whole ending felt rushed to me. Like, once we finally get out into the woods with the the monsters
made of mud.
With the mud monsters, it all just breezes through really fast, and then the ending just feels sort of slightly incomplete to me, I guess.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest issues with this book is that he took the time to build it up so well in terms of, like, pacing,
Mm-hmm.
and to your point, the ending felt so abrupt. Like, we pace, 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 door slam in your face, like, "Oh, by the way, monsters are real, Courtney was bragging about it at the end."
Right.
And it's like, "What? You couldn't just" and it makes me wonder at that point, does he have a page limit?
I don't know. It seems like his pages vary from like 120 some to 140. So he could have gone longer. I don't remember how many pages this one actually was.
I think it was 120, I think.
Yeah, so it's on the short end of his books, which maybe it was a timing thing. Maybe he just had to rush write it,
Maybe maybe he just didn't know how to end it.
or that.
He was, like, hitting the wall on that, like, "How what else do I put?" And then he's like, "Ah, screw it, I got another one to write. Like, let's just kids don't care. Let's just put it out there. Next."
Yeah. I got 11 more for 94.
Right? Gotta feed the machine. So, it's like they won't care so much.
Yeah.
It's not like we have, literary geniuses reading Goosebumps and critiquing it. "Oh, wait, that's what we're
I
doing.
know. In the year 2024, just you wait, R.L. Stine.
How dare you rush these, RL." So, it definitely was abrupt. We get the end, we get them screaming and running away, and then you get, like, 2 sentences
Yeah.
of, "Okay, this is what happened." It almost would have been better if you just ended it with them screaming and running away.
Right. Yeah.
The end. Because then, 1, you don't know what happened to them. Did the mud monsters get them? 2, they finally scared Courtney. And 3, you really don't have any kind of abrupt halt that just feels, like you said, really incomplete and weird, like rushed.
Yeah. I almost wonder if maybe that was the original intention, and then Scholastic's like, "Oh, that's too dark. Can you just add a little something at the end?" He's like,
Give them just a tight little epilogue,
"Yeah,
just to wrap it up, put the bow on it. This bow didn't
it
work.
did not work. It was
It was a dinky little bow.
the dinkiest of bows."
Dinky bow. That's what we're gonna start calling ones with these kind of
I
endings.
like
It's a
that.
dinky bow ending. So then this also had a corresponding TV episode to it. Lucky for us, there was only one. It wasn't a two-parter.
Thank you.
Funny thing is I never read the book, but when I watched the episode, I've actually seen it. I knew
Oh,
how it
oh,
ended.
really?
I didn't completely remember,
Mm-hmm.
like, the scenes in between, but when I started it, I'm like, "I know the ending to this. I
Weird.
remember the ending." So
And this one is quite different. I mean, a lot of the field trip's missing. There's a lot of things that are missing or like sort of conflated together.
I found it interesting what they did with the TV episode. They really leaned into Eddie and Hat
Yeah,
being kind of the
I
bullies.
know.
Courtney wasn't as obnoxious. She wasn't digging in at him, like, at them as much, and any digging she did do was accidental.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, "Oh, wow." They're really highlighting that our assumed protagonists are actually the bullies, and they're not so protagonisty. I know that's not a word.
It
Protagonistic.
is now.
So
Yeah,
so I did find that interesting.
I thought that was super fun. And they did make her the main character because she was top billed in the credits, which was a neat twist, I thought.
Mm.
I also love like that the episode knew how silly this concept was, so they out sillied it by making her essentially talk the mud monster to death. Which I don't know. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely absolutely changed up the ending.
Mm-hmm.
They adapted the story itself by getting rid of the 2 side characters of Molly and Charlene. We don't get the dog scenes. It's not expanded out. We don't get his brother.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Eddie is the one dressing up as the mud monster and not, Kevin doesn't even exist in this. So they really scaled down a lot, which to me it wasn't a problem.
Mm-hmm. For
And
once.
so I was right?
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, none of those characters are there. They've changed the world enough
Yeah.
so that it's okay those characters aren't there. It's okay those scenes didn't happen." They changed it enough, I guess, if that makes sense. They really made it their own. Whereas before, in the past, we've seen in other episodes where they take a bunch, but they change major parts for reasons we don't understand. We're like, how did that serve the story? It didn't help.
Right.
In this case, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt they took that out.
Yeah, I agree. I think
So,
I don't know. As episodes go, this one ranks pretty high, I think.
and it was
It
funny.
was funny.
Like, they did lean in, like you said, to the silly. They
Mhm.
leaned into the absurd, and it worked. They're like, "Men monsters are absurd."
Yeah.
It works.
So for those who didn't watch the episode, and we don't blame you, I mean, essentially at the end, Courtney, the mud monster comes out to attack the kids. The boys are scared, and Courtney just starts sympathizing with it and talking to it until it essentially becomes rock solid from being out of the mud too long.
Because the sun comes
The
out.
sun comes
Like,
out.
that's the hilarious part is, like, you think it's gonna work, mud monster's behind her, and she's like, "Oh, is there a monster behind me?" And then turns around, and it is, and she's like, "You better cut it out. You're being angry, and this is not acceptable. Let's talk about your anger." And she's talking them all out. They're all annoyed, and I love the look the mud monster leans over to give Eddie and Hat. Like,
Yes.
"Is she for real?" And they're just like, "Yep."
Yeah, she does this. Oh. Yeah, she's going to be a future therapist for mud monsters
Yeah.
and all cryptids, maybe.
So all cryptids. She's gonna talk to Nessie, Chupacabra. She's gonna like really get
Mm.
Chupacabra to like the Chupacabra to stop like eating cows or mutilating goats. She's gonna be like, "That's not nice.
Have
You
you
need to cut it out."
have you tried a vegetarian diet?
I think you'd be less angry. You'd find organic is more your style. But yeah, it was so absurd that it was
It
hilarious.
was. It was.
They didn't try to be scary. They didn't try to make themselves any different
Mm-mm.
than just leaning into the absurd.
Right. Yeah. And to your point, this one did start with the exposition of the mud monsters and everything and how that came to be. So we knew where it was going while watching it on TV. Yet, because of that twist, I was still like, ooh, this is exciting. So,
It was fun.
yeah.
She turned it around on them. They literally could not scare her. They really did completely embody the title.
Yeah.
You can't scare me.
Yeah.
Even to a monster, it's like, you can't scare me. I know you're a monster, but guess what? You don't scare me either.
Mm-mm.
In fact, I'm going to give you therapy.
Right. So where do you think your urge to kill children and village people came from, Mr. Mudd?
Mr. Mud, let's talk about this. Well, technically, the mud monsters, if we go with the book lore, would have been the village people that had been
Oh, that's right.
killed
Yeah.
because they were drowned and then covered in the mud. But her story about the lore of them coming out now and eating people, it's like, is it just a social commentary on the have-nots eating the elite?
Yeah.
Because you got to fight back.
I want to dive into that more. Like that's the book I want.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of symbolism in there that I'm like, "Ooh, that's heavy for kids," but
Yeah.
it's there. He put it in there.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love him.
He's like, "This is for those Courtneys out there reading this book.
Right.
They need just a little bit more."
That's me. I'm a Courtney.
I'm a Courtney. This is Brittany, Tiffany, Amber, and Courtney. So
Totes Court over here.
Totes Court. So here's something that I found really lovely is that whoever created the mud monster in the TV episode got it spot on
Yeah.
based on the cover. Like, if you look at the mud monster on the cover versus the mud monster in the TV episode, they were pretty darn close, almost exact.
It looked really good. This is a series that's hit or miss with its graphics, but I thought this worked well.
I was impressed with the effects of the mud monster. It looks so dopey, but it matched the cover perfectly. I was like, yay!
Yeah, you did good. This one was not written by the usual suspects. Like normally, I believe Charles Laser is the writer who tends to change things and maybe not for the better. This one was written by Peter Mitchell, and
The,
I
the
gotta say,
usual suspects.
I see a lot of similar names in the credits, and it doesn't give me hope usually. But
The fact you can keep it all together.
I'm pretty amazing.
All right, Courtney. Now, my question to you is if you were put into this universe of the mud monsters,
Yeah.
would you be one of the ones that would go into the swampy, woody areas to see if they existed, if they were real? Or would you be one that's like, nope, I'm staying away?
Ugh, I would go in the daylight. Maybe. I wouldn't go at night, that's for damn sure.
Because the monsters only come out at night.
No, but I want to see what's killing me. Like that's
I want to see it.
I feel like I would have a better visual of something coming at me in the daytime than at night.
I want to watch them rip my arm off.
That's not my favorite arm anyways, you jackass. No.
You have a favorite.
It's dangerously after dark.
We're going to get kicked off the streaming networks.
No. What about you?
I would go to this one.
You would do
I don't know
this?
if I'd do it. Yeah, I don't think I'd go like in the middle of the night, but I would go like at dusk. And that's purely because I have night blindness. So I would like walk into a tree if you got me there too late. And they'd be like, mud monsters, who cares about that? She just gave herself a concussion on a tree.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen for sure.
No.
That's interesting because so often you're like, oh, I wouldn't do this, but this is the one that intrigues you. Is it the love?
Well,
for
they didn't
cryptids?
say mud monsters ran like Dawn of the Dead Zombies
That's
circa 2002
right.
or whatever year that was. It's like they're not mud monsters on steroids. They seem to move pretty slowly.
Yeah.
And so, like, if they're moving slowly, like slow zombie style, yeah, I'm okay with that. I can outrun them.
Right. Just hope you don't find any mud sprinters.
It's like mud run. We're on a mud run.
Yeah.
Spartan style.
Ooh, that would be a fun story.
What? Mud runners?
Mud run through this wooded area and then the monsters attack all the runners.
So I'm going to put this out there and someone's probably going to take this idea, but wouldn't it be cool to have like 5Ks based on Goosebumps worlds?
Yes. That would be super cool.
Because we have an upcoming book where it takes place in Horrorland. So could you imagine doing a 5K through like crazy circus mirrors and all sorts of stuff? Like, I don't know. That would be cool.
That would be super cool. I would dig that a lot.
Yeah. Some of those, it probably wouldn't work out. Like some of the worlds, like to put a 5K in. But I feel like it'd be cool to have one that kind of maybe Horrorland embodies the ones you can't have a world in. So like have Slappy in there and other, iconic characters coming after you.
Yeah. I'm down. This is a great idea.
Yeah. I think that'd be cool.
I'm with you.
Woo!
Let's do it.
I'm in.
We'll make it happen.
Who the fuck am I kidding? I don't run. Can we have a walk?
You might if there was a Slappy coming at you.
True. What about a trot? She trotted away from Slappy. She trot away.
He's got really little legs. He can't be that fast.
I don't know. Have you seen Chucky run?
Not in person.
Well, but on the show, yes. Like in any of the movies, he runs pretty fast. His little legs go.
That's true.
It's like the little engine that kid. Pew, 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 pew. Like little. He's like Turbo the snail.
Yes.
Pew. So that would be interesting.
That would be cool.
Now, out of all the books that we've read so far, because we're 15 in now, do you see any of them that you think if they were translated into an adult story, not naughty adults, not after dark, but just like geared towards adult audiences, which one do you think would translate best for horror?
I really like the idea of The Ghost Next Door being translated to sort of an adult horror vibe.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think it has enough, like, bite potential to really carry, like, full horror, like, to embody that?
Not as it is, but I feel like with some exposition, it could be bitier.
Bitier. It's very like The Others, if you think about it.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, where it's like, "Oh, the ghosts are everywhere. Ghosts, ghosts, ghosts." And wait, we are the ghosts. Mister, we are the weirdos. I think The Haunted Mask has a lot of potential to be absolutely terrifying, especially if the person that puts it on turns into a true monster and they really get into some mischief and, like, eat people.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh god, I don't know what I'm doing." And then rah, rah, rah. So,
I could see that.
it could get gory,
Mm-hmm.
which I think would be fun in the horror world. The horrorverse.
Horrorverse.
The horrorverse.
Yeah, I don't know how well this one would translate to an adult story. Like, the idea of mud monsters is cool, but it would have to be a completely different setting with a completely different set of rules, I feel like, to be terrifying in the least little bit.
It would really have to be leaning into campy horror. Like, this is a satire horror. This is campy horror. It could not take itself seriously,
Right.
which is what the TV show did. It's like, we can't take it too seriously because if we do, it's just gonna flop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna get all slippery and
Eh?
eh? This is not working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen Say Cheese and Die to an extent, like all those camera movies that
Yeah.
have been out there. So it's really that's already Say Cheese and Die.
Yeah. And Let's Get Invisible, we talked about as basically Flatliners or Talk to Me or,
Yeah.
Whatever. Like,
Exactly.
I don't feel like Stay Out of the Basement, although it's a neat concept, would work too well. Maybe if they like expanded hardcore on it, just, plant doctor making a whole legion of plant people.
Very Frankenstein-y.
Yeah. Plant
This
Frankenstein.
is hard to take like plants seriously.
Right.
Plantenstein?
Plantenstein.
Planktonstein.
Ooh.
So I don't know. Yeah, I really think like out of all of them, I really do think that The Haunted Mask could be really fun and scary and get gory.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about it. Because I think we've already seen kind of variations of this already in the horror world, like Night of the Living Dummy. We've got Chucky, so you really don't need to do that one.
Mm-hmm.
Say Cheese and Die, we've got all those films about deadly pictures from cameras. And what was that one with Joshua Jackson? Wasn't there one where
Shutter?
was it Shutter?
I think that's what it was
I
called.
think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many though.
There are. Yeah.
And it was Shutter. That's right. Because it was like the Polaroid
Yes.
one.
And also, yeah, I mean, just something like that wouldn't really work in this day and age because cameras aren't like a commodity that much anymore, unless it were somehow translated to camera phones, which gets murky real fast. So,
although you could go influencer trendy, because what's trendy right now are those little colorful, like a Polaroid. What are they called? Oh gosh. It's the Instax. That's what it is.
Yes.
The Fujifilm Instax. Those are still being used.
True.
And even like a filter was created based on the little photos that it prints. So people can feel like they have an Instax too at like Coachella and whatever else is trendy right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be done. Heck, how interesting would it be if it was like Say Cheese and Die meets Coachella and like people are dying at some trendy festival because of the photos being taken there?
That would be kind of cool.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Look at all these ideas I'm coming up with. So don't be surprised if you see a movie made because someone like swiper, no swiping from our podcast. Now, one we forgot that I think would make an epic scary film is Welcome to Dead House.
Oh, how could we forget that? We're both fired.
Right? A town of dead people. You could go so hard into that and go so dark
Yeah.
that it's already dark, but go even further. Ooh,
Let's get
that would be amazing.
darker than dark.
Let's get after dark, beyond dark, extra dark.
Extra dark. Let's get deep space dark.
Ooh, I like that. Look at that.
Yeah.
So we've got good ideas that are all going to be taken and made into a film. Oh, darn. But I do think that a lot of these, as we go along the list, are probably going to have potential to be, in the horror world if they were tweaked.
Yeah.
But how many of these wouldn't work in that, I think, is what makes them great for the horror junior world of Goosebumps.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and he does it so well. He does it arguably the best anyone ever has, I think. I mean, I haven't gone too deep into the junior horror world outside of his books, but based on the ones I've read, he knows how to do it. And it's his ability to write as a child that just blows my mind. Like, I noticed it in this book. And when the kids were on the field trip in the beginning, I was like, damn, that reminds me of a field trip that I took when I was their age. And, I'm like, I don't know how he does that. Like, to divorce his own self so hard that, like, he can write to someone who, was a child at that time.
I think he just puts on a really good annoying filter. Sometimes I think it's too
Yeah.
heavy-handed. I think he uses it too much across. It's almost like a Photoshop layer where he's like, layer annoying, and doesn't realize that you don't necessarily need that
Right.
for every single character. Like, they don't all have to have a filter on them.
Yeah.
Some can be just chill. Some can be just like, because you look at kids and yeah, some are really annoying, but some are also like very quiet or very calm or very gentle or very whatever. And it's like, it's okay for them to have layers.
Right.
They don't all have to have the Photoshop filter of annoying.
Yeah. Everyone in this book had at least 2 layers of that.
Because oftentimes they are annoyed. Like, you find the protagonist is annoyed by the world and everything's not fair. And, it just, nobody will believe me. And it's easy as an adult to say, well, that's how they all feel. They're all angsty. And we forget at that age, we weren't all that way all the time.
Yeah.
Like, there's layers and there's a spectrum of angst and, melodrama. But hey, you know what? It's his world. We're in it.
Yep. Yep. And I enjoy being in it. So
I enjoy being in Goosebump land.
yes.
So then, rating episode versus book, how would you compare the two in terms of which you prefer, which you would skip, or do you like them both?
I like them both for once. This is stop the presses.
Oh my God, call the president.
Yeah. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
That's going to be a data joke someday. I like both of these two. I mean, the book is okay, right? Like, I like it more after we talked about it than I did initially, because sometimes, getting another perspective is nice. I found them so annoying at first, but you sort of brought me around to them a little bit in our episode. That said, I really just enjoyed the overall silliness of the episode, and the book is good outside of the last 20 pages or whatever.
Sounds like you like the TV episode over the book.
I think I might.
What?
Which I hope that's the only time that ever happens, but we'll see. What about you?
I think the book has a lot of good merits in terms of what he's showing the world in layers of bullying and, the whole range that we get of assumptions, how we assume characters should be versus this is how they really are. I think that this is probably the best example of people that he's written up until this point. And I like that he challenges assumptions and stereotypes and archetypes.
Yeah.
But the book just didn't hold me. in terms of the TV episode, I actually found it humorous. I found it entertaining. Would I watch it again and again and again? No, it wasn't that entertaining, but I was entertained in the moment.
Right.
And so I would actually choose the TV episode over the book as well.
Whoa, look at that.
I know.
We didn't think it would ever happen.
Oh my gosh, hell is frozen over. The mud monsters are coming to get us.
Would you like a sweater, Satan?
I'm just trying to determine what sweater. Would it be like a Christmas sweater? That'd be funny to
That would be
see
super
Lucifer
funny.
wearing a Christmas sweater.
Oh, man.
A Batman Christmas sweater. Yeah. Hell froze over.
Yeah.
The TV episode to me was more entertaining. It held me more than the book. I do think the book had a lot more layers and a lot more to the story, and you could probably dig even deeper into what he wrote, and he'd probably be like, "Guys, it wasn't that deep." But in terms of just entertainment value, I think that the TV episode definitely entertained me more.
Nice. Wow. Well, we didn't think it would happen. We'll see if it ever happens again.
Just saying.
You never know.
This is true. I mean, we have, in the grand scheme of things, we're 15 in, which is amazing. Look at us. We're still going. But we still have quite a few more to go. At least, 50 or 48 or something?
40? At least 40.
I was just throwing a number out there. We have a lot more to go,
We
and
do.
I love it. I love this adventure we're on.
I do too.
So we'll see. I doubt this is going to be the last time. Definitely a first.
Yeah, for sure.
So then, Gary.
Yes.
What is the next book that we are jumping into?
Well, Ashley, our next book will be the start of a sub-series eventually, One Day at Horrorland, the aforementioned Horrorland.
Woo woo. I know, it's dropping little Easter eggs. So I will say this as we gear up for the next one. This cover was one of my favorite covers.
Nice. It's a great cover.
Yep. And I love that they've been putting it on merch that they're releasing out at the different stores right now, because Horrorland was a place when I was that age reading these that I actually wanted to go to. I wish it were real. So
awesome. We got another like green evil face too. It's
with the horns and the creepy claws, and I'm so excited. So very excited to reread Welcome to Horrorland. Do we have a corresponding TV episode?
We do. I believe it's a two-parter. Yes. One Day at Horrorland, parts 1 and 2. Season. Damn it, ad. Season 3, episodes 8 and 9.
Woo! So we get TV episodes, we get the book. I'm very excited to watch. I loved it as like a kid. I'm probably going to reread it and be like, oh.
These characters are so one-dimensional. And
didn't age well. No, I'm kidding. These characters are so one-dimensional. I need my characters on a 6D level. I need to be intergalactic here.
I need to smell the creatures in this book.
I don't think I want to smell monsters. Can you imagine what they smell like?
Not great.
I wouldn't think so.
Unless they're shower monsters. Then they might smell very pleasant.
Pennywise came out of the shower in the TV movies.
Yeah, he didn't look like he smelled very good.
I never thought about, I wonder what Pennywise smells like. So I honestly don't know. But for that moment in the shower when his hand was coming up through the drain, I'm sure he didn't smell too badly.
It's true.
It's probably the only bath he's taken.
Aside from, being down in the sewers. But that's not a good bath. That's a poo bath.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What day of the week do monsters like to feast on humans?
I don't know.
On a Tuesday.
Perfect.
This is the only one you got. Because that was a teaser for Horrorland.
Oh, you.
I know. Oh, let's just call it a build-up. After dark. Okay. So, all right. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to Listeners Beware. Are you looking for more spooky podcast content? Check out Three Haunted Podcasts, where Ashley and friends talk about all the things that go bump in the night. You can find us on all major podcasting networks.
And if you are looking for something that's not quite as spooky as Goosebumps, not as many bumps to goose, but is nostalgic, check me out at the Wax Nostalgic Network, waxnostalgicnetwork.com, and wherever podcasts are available.
There's a prescription for that. Until next time. Look at me.
Look at you.
Getting philosophical on the bumps.
You're right. That needs to be a t-shirt.
Philosophical on the bumps.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, is that an STD?
Maybe that's not a good t-shirt.
They're like, do you have a prescription for that?
Do you regret your philosophical bumps?
It doesn't count if it's philosophical, right?
That's what I say.
Yeah, of course. That's what I always say. Oh, man.
Dinky bow.
Dinky bow. So the rating on this one is 3 bumps and a dinky bow.
Still sounds like an STD.
It really does. You need a prescription for that. So, oh my gosh. Take 2 and call me tomorrow. So I'm going to put this out there and someone's probably going to take this idea, but wouldn't it be cool to have like 5Ks based on Goosebumps worlds?
Yes. That would be super cool.
The 5K bumps. Yes, I know. Prescription.